It's 1994. You just got back from a hard day at work. You need to watch something good on TV. Here are some of your options at that time. Got Seinfeld.
What's the deal with Aquaman? Could he go on the land, or was he just restricted to water?
We covered Seinfeld. Make sure you familiarize yourself with their back catalog if you haven't. You could also do ER. We covered that one too. You really need to familiarize yourself with their back catalog. Then there's Home Improvement, Grace Under Fire, or maybe 60 Minutes. Or you could take your chances on the hot new thing of 1994, which is Friends, a story of 6 20-something sort of is struggling in the big, scary city of Manhattan, trying to make their way in the world. Well, that's what we're going to cover today. Brian Vaughn, I'll be there for you.
Oh, I really appreciate that. Glib, sarcastic remark. I'm getting in my friends zone.
Friends zone.
That's what we're in today, the
use that.
friends zone.
Van, how do you feel about the Friends zone?
Can we do any of those other shows? Well, all but
we did the first
all but
two.
One.
Yeah, you made me think now. How do we cover 60 Minutes?
It's better than Home Improvement or Friends, I can tell you that.
I would love to try to cover 60 minutes.
A news program.
Look at Mike Wallace. Look how his jowls are moving.
The extended look at what big topic from like 1994 or something
O.J.
that they
Simpson
did. Yeah,
would be
I guess
what it
that's
is.
kind of true. Since I did take us back into time, that is the big current event.
What were you guys doing in 1994?
Being 9?
Yeah, exactly.
I was
Not much
probably
else.
talking about Jurassic Park a lot.
Yeah.
Just as I was before we started recording this podcast.
I think I was playing a lot of Mario Kart, Super Mario Kart to be specific.
I would have been also doing that.
You weren't watching Friends.
No, sure wasn't.
No.
I wasn't either. And we didn't as adults either. We stayed consistent in that sense.
Yeah, we are very unusual, especially for millennials in that regard, having not been Friends heads at any point.
I neglected to say that when I was trying to pimp out our back catalog, we're the Bootu boys. And we don't really do shows like Friends. We don't watch them, and we so far have not talked about them.
That's not true, Spencer. We do plenty of highly regarded sitcoms. We've done Seinfeld. We've done the Mary Tyler Moore Show. We've done probably some other ones, according to Jim.
There you go.
So this monstrosity that we're covering here was a 10-year thing that had 236 episodes, and it was at some point anointed. Let's see, I'm gonna list some of the different publications and the praise they lavished on it. TV Guide.
While you do that, I'm going to look at Van's face to see how red it gets in anger.
Okay, yeah, it's likely to happen because TV Guide, I don't know when they released this, but it doesn't matter because at some point they decided that of the 50 greatest TV shows of all time, Friends landed at number 21.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Now, Empire Magazine did this same thing, and they said number 5.
Oh,
I don't know what
That's more
Empire
of a
Magazine
problem.
is. Writers Guild of America ranked it number 21 on its 101 best written TV shows of all time. This was 2013. So pretty, 10 years ago.
See, I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't agree with that ranking, but I can stomach it because of how much people do love Friends.
Oh, they do.
And boy, I don't see it, but
I can
get it.
also stomach top 20-ish
Ugh.
for a populist show like that if
Sure.
we're, wouldn't make my list, as we'll get to. But, yeah, I can stomach that better than, top 5. That seems like territory that only
That
shows
are good.
attempting to cover more territory should get.
So while I'm shoving these accolades down your guys' gullets here, my point is that we've done all these shows that we like, and some we don't. I don't know. Seinfeld, maybe. If any of them are the critical successes and the darlings of the public that Friends was. Off the top of your head, anything?
Yeah, Seinfeld's the closest of the ones that we've covered for sure.
Because this one had 50-some million Americans alone watching the finale when it aired in 2004.
And people still talk about it
Yeah.
like it's such a great deal.
It's had a real renaissance since it came to streaming in the 20-teens, I'd say late 20-teens. It's probably on streaming before then, but maybe Netflix got the rights or something
They
at one
did.
point.
And they were about to lose it in 2017, I think, and people freaked out so much they kept it. Of course, now it's on Max, right? We discovered it's not
That's
on
what it was,
Netflix
yeah.
now, but
I discovered working with people younger than us, like 10, 15 years younger than us, that they were very getting into Friends a couple of years ago.
what did you say?
I said, why? I feel like if you were going to get into shows from before you were born, there are infinite shows better than that one.
Don't do that.
And they responded to me with, how you doing?
Is that a thing?
That's Joey's pickup line. So
Does it
It's his
work?
catchphrase.
Oh, I mean, I
guess
think
he's
so.
a hunk, so
What
I don't
we
think it's
saw-
a catchphrase.
He's
that
a
does
soap
it.
opera TV star.
In our 2 episodes, I would not have thought it did, but apparently Joey does a lot of fucking in the episodes we didn't see.
I
Never,
think he does a lot of counseling.
never the same girls. He's going through them all, like left and right. Can't commit to a relationship. Nothing upstairs.
I guess he doesn't have any children, so he must be shooting LeBlancs.
Yeah, this is as good a time as any to mention the big 6 and their
Hold on, hold
names.
on. There needs to be a very specific reaction to what Brian just did, so bear with me a moment. I think that's about as appropriate
Well,
as that
that's
joke can
perfect.
get.
I have been waiting on Jay Leno to call me back about this. I sent in a writing packet.
Well, he's all burned up. He can't do
That's
that
true. He had
anymore.
that horrible accident.
And then kept having more because he's an idiot.
He had another accident since that one?
He like crashed and burned his face off, and then he crashed again.
I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
A subsequent crash after the initial.
Man, love them fast cars, me.
So the big 6, there's really no need to talk about the rest of the cast in the show. They had a bunch of guest stars, many of which they actually got famous from the show.
Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd may have had his own career before, but
True.
yes, he was in the show. Bruce Willis had some cameos.
What?
Yes. He played, I think Rachel dated him for a little bit.
John
Tom
McClane.
Selleck.
Monica dated Tom
Yeah.
Selleck for a great deal of time. Actually, Tom Selleck noticed during his extensive visits to the set that the cast was so close that he felt like an outsider. Like they accidentally were exclusionary because they were so fucking close and tight-knit as a group.
There's a really funny story that I heard on, I think it was the Conan O'Brien podcast, that Paul Rudd told of being at the final episode shoot, like when they were wrapping everything. And he was there too, because he was in
Paul
that
Rudd
episode.
was there?
Yeah, because he was a recurring character
Yeah.
in like 10 or 20 episodes.
He marries Phoebe in the end in
Oh,
season 10.
That must be why. So he's there, and I guess he jokingly went up to him as they're all hugging and celebrating at the end, like kind of, and was like, "Yeah, we did it, guys."
I would imagine David Schwimmer pushed him away angrily because apparently when they did their final huddle, they huddled before every episode and they had like a have a great show, guys. Well, David Schwimmer was dreading that moment for apparently a long time because he knew he was going to get too emotional and teary-eyed about it because
And
it was going to mean so much to him.
His career was over, of course.
Yeah.
Because why would anyone hire that man for anything?
Hey, he was in Curb Your Enthusiasm after that for a season.
So the ensemble cast, the fact that they all kind of worked as a unit and insisted on the same pay, the same awards, and didn't want to be featured individually makes it difficult for me to know which of the big 6 I should introduce first. I'll do Jennifer Aniston, right?
Yeah, you know
That's
what?
the right
She's
choice.
the biggest of the
She's
stars.
the biggest star, and let me say, everything you just said, I like that. I like that they were,
that was the good thing.
solidarity together, that nobody tried to bully anyone else. And
That was the
yeah.
good thing about researching the show is the cast genuinely liked each other. And they had great chemistry, which I think is a large part of the reason why anyone could like the show.
You know
is
what
the
else?
Cast.
I don't think any of them are Nazis. And like these days, it's pretty tough to find
The 50-50
any.
coin flip.
Yeah, a cast from 30 years ago of something. Pretty tough to know.
So we've got Jennifer Aniston as Rachel, Courtney Cox as Monica, Lisa Kudrow as Phoebe, Matt LeBlanc, who Brian just slipped in a genius joke in, as Joey, and then David Schwimmer as Ross, Matthew Perry as Chandler. It's done.
We got there.
The big 6. I insist every time we talk about the cast, we call them the big 6
Big
the rest of the
Six.
way.
Okay.
A big story about the big 6. None of them were really very well known at all before Friends, which I didn't remember that being the
Jennifer
case.
Aniston was in Leprechaun. Van and I were familiar with her work.
Yeah, why did we watch that movie, Brian?
We might have heard from someone at school, you or some, maybe heard that and told me that she was nude in that movie. She's
But
not,
no,
though.
No.
It's not
So
true.
wasn't she like 12 in that?
No,
she
she was
was
like
of
20.
age.
I mean, you
Probably.
guys weren't, so it would have been
Well,
fine
true.
anyway. I'm not saying what you think I am. My thought on this, though, is that I want to talk about how Courtney Cox was apparently the most well-known because she was in a video of Bruce Springsteen's
She danced or something?
Dancing in the
Yeah.
Dark.
Oh, that one.
I did
Yeah.
know this, but I didn't know the chronology was that. I thought that might have been after.
She'd also done a bunch of commercials, apparently, too. But yeah, she was the most likely at that time, I believe, they considered, no matter what you guys think, to be recognized. One of the show's directors, before Friends aired, took them on a big trip, like a big cast trip together to Vegas in 94. There's a picture of it, which I came across on Reddit a few weeks ago, not even knowing I was going to do Friends. But they have all this kind of ephemeral look in their face somehow. And he had told them, guys, enjoy this trip. For the rest of your lives, you're never going to be able to go anywhere without being hounded. Turned out to be true. That was
Especially
like the
true
last
of
time
Ross,
they could.
who looks like a hound.
I don't know what's going on with Ross. We'll talk quite a bit about him. Obviously, this was the stepping up point for really all of these people. They're all giant stars, especially ones like Jennifer Aniston.
They are all eternally famous, even if they aren't doing anything now. I was thinking about that earlier, kind of when organizing my notes today, that Matt LeBlanc, I mean, I haven't seen that guy in anything. I haven't seen Matthew Perry in anything in a long time, but I still consider them as famous people because they were essentially co-main characters in a show this big.
Right.
And that may be one of the benefits of the cast being pretty giving with one another.
Those two in particular you mentioned, I kind of have some respect for them because I don't want to be mean. They're not really trying to hide their aging, and it shows, and I think that's cool. Like, Matthew Perry had a rough go of it. During the show, he had addiction problems. He was open about that. He struggled with alcoholism. I think he had, like, pill addiction, stuff like that. So he had to go to rehab several times during the shooting of this show, and I think it kind of has caught up with him in his older years now, and Matt LeBlanc is, like, fully gray and embraces it, doesn't bother trying to diet. They all look significantly older, and they don't seem to care, and I thought that was cool. So I respect that part about the cast. Anyway, even if I don't know what they're up to or what they're doing
You
these
don't want
days.
to know what Matthew Perry's up to. It's being an asshole.
Well, I can kind of see that. Some of the Chandler moments were too convincing.
You mean that Chandler's awful?
Yeah,
Do you guys want to talk about that for just a moment up top?
sure.
The Chandler character, I now believe, really fed into kind of the aspect of the Gen X sense of humor that I dislike a lot. The sarcasm for sarcasm's sake.
Just to be mean.
And just saying mean things.
Yeah.
Mean-spirited sarcasm, yeah.
And repeating things just with a different tone. Like there's no cleverness behind a whole lot of it, even though the character is written as such that that's what we're meant to believe, is that he is the brains.
Yeah, he's smart and clever and witty, but he's just mean. That's all
I believe
it is.
he has some sort of data job, you know.
He's a statistical scientist sort of thing. I don't know.
Right, because they all don't really work but are kind of wealthy, except for when they don't need to be for the plot.
Yeah, they're supposed to be struggling New Yorkers, and of course that's an ongoing thing with the audience understandably questioning, like, how are people struggling in New York with apartments that size? But the director's like, God, what are we supposed to do?
Yeah.
We can't film in shitty apartments. We've got to use a set piece.
This is also true of almost all sitcoms, so I won't nitpick them too much for that.
I probably should have mentioned it was created by David Crane and Marta Kaufman.
Great.
Yeah, I don't know anything about them, so
Nope.
we need to at least mention that
Crane's a type of bird.
Good job, David Crane and Marta Kaufman.
And a piece of heavy machinery.
Also,
Yeah, it's true.
it did not take off quite as quickly as we may think. The first season ratings they were fine. It didn't happen till the season 8 that they reached officially #1 of all the TV show rankings at the time.
And that is how I thought of it at the time, as a grinder show.
Sure.
Always in the top so many, people liked it but didn't love it. And I feel like there's I'm probably just wrong about this, a bit of a revisionist view of it as having always been writing the top, which, you know, I really feel that the cultural moments belonged to other shows at the time more. The Simpsons, Seinfeld, ER even.
I think that's probably true.
NYPD Blue, Dennis Franz showed his butt.
It was nominated for a total of 62 Primetime Emmy Awards, by the way, and it did win Outstanding Comedy Series in 2002. So the peak era of the show was probably that early 2000s time period where we were kind of coming of age personally. So I think that could be why we remember it in our own versions, our own heads, as the big show that it turned into, but it wasn't necessarily always. Because again, these are unknowns when the show started, and the premise of it, which is 6 struggling 20-somethings in New York, is not original or interesting in the surface.
So the show, the whole thing, not original or interesting.
Yep.
Well, I'll tell you this. This, for some reason, brought to mind the show Girls from like 10 years ago that was on HBO.
Lena Dunham.
You know, she's had some backlash against her for kind of being a little bit of a turd at times. But that show was pretty good and was trying things and was about this sort of thing. It was just a lot more honest and made by HBO.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
So
for sure.
I think there's like a way you can do this and make it interesting. But if you hear this template in sitcom form, even saying it out loud, you know it's going to be boring.
I think my big problem with it is this is at a time when, of course, 5 years before Friends started, you didn't talk about sex on TV. Well, now we're getting to the area where You can talk a little bit more about sex. People have sex. Let's put it in our plots. But the problem is...
We're talking about Elaine jaying off on Seinfeld already by now.
Yeah, but by the time this show craps into view, they're making sex the focal point of these 6 people. It's they fuck. This one's fucking that one. This one's fucking a different character. They fuck. It's too much. And it's not realistic.
Comparing it to Seinfeld, these are hotter people.
Oh, yeah.
Like, these are people that would fuck more, probably, to be fair. But yeah, it does seem like to have successful careers and so many just bizarre events happen to them, 236 episodes worth of bizarre events, that they would have time to find so many romantic partners.
And the problem with that, of course, is that, like, I don't like the idea that friend groups are going to hook up. Why? You can have male and female friends that don't do that.
They do, though. But here's to your point. Does this happen as much when you're in your 30s?
Yeah.
But I feel like that's when you're younger, thing. Like in college or something. And these guys
Not when you're a 35-year-old paleontologist with a monkey.
Let's do this right now. This episode, 1995, how old do you think everybody was? I know the answer.
They're supposed to all be 25 when the show starts or so, but
yeah, well, none of them are that.
They're in their 30s.
They look older,
right?
yeah. They look like late 20s, early 30s.
Well, it's pretty surprising. Matthew Perry and Jennifer Aniston were both 26.
Oh, wow.
So they were... Matthew Perry, I would have said, was 32.
Yeah, I would have believed it about Aniston.
Jennifer Aniston does look quite young.
She looks young. Matt LeBlanc was 28, David Schwimmer 29, Courtney Cox was 31, and Lisa Kudrow 32. So they had been around a little longer at this point. I assume we're probably going to talk about this episode, the one where Ross finds out.
Be fine if we didn't.
But I have some good news before we do that, and I want to get our spirits high before they might potentially get leveled a bit. We got another review, and it's 5 stars.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I haven't checked in a while.
It is from Awesome Man, and it says, "Great show. I love the banter and discussion back and forth. Really entertaining. Fabulous to listen to when I'm driving or working around the house."
When you started the word driving, I for some reason was sure he was going to say drunk. Great to listen to when I'm drunk.
Probably that too.
Great to listen to when I'm driving kids from the prom. It's John DeHart from
Not
Champagne
a problem.
and Bullets.
Hey, he lived up to his name, this guy. Awesome Man.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So thanks for that review. Anyone else who wants to give us a review on Apple Podcasts or anywhere else, if you'd like to rate us, that'd be super helpful. It really does help us, and it also lifts our spirits. And also, if you've listened to prior episodes, you know that we'll get tattoos of Paranta's head and Gior and
Frasier, whatever else it was.
If we're bringing friends into that, that
yeah.
means we're going to have Ross on our body somewhere.
I'm going to get that monkey we never see. There's a monkey in Friends.
Marcel.
Yeah, I think he was already out by the second season because it didn't go well.
Well, he had a beef with the cast.
Yeah, they didn't get along with him, apparently.
Well, apparently neither did David Schwimmer, there were stories coming out that he was jealous of the attention the monkey got.
I'm not
because
surprised.
He wanted more attention.
No, he's a needy guy. If you look, Ross.
Oh yeah,
Ross has some problems, and
maybe that's what they saw in the character in David Schwimmer, who, by the way, was like the only guy who they went into casting thinking we want this guy.
Why he hadn't even done anything? I don't get it.
Well, the character is supposed to be needy and insecure.
Well,
he did fit that role.
Yeah, he was the first one they cast because they just knew that like this. We're writing Ross for David Schwimmer.
This is the guy.
When I think friend, this is friend number one.
Let me tell my David Schwimmer story.
Okay.
And I don't know that this is entirely true. This might have been a fever dream of how I remembered this. And I don't know who the actual interview was, but there was a podcast or more likely a talk show, because this was 20 years ago. I guess it would have been like at least 2002.
Could have been The View.
Nope, couldn't have been.
Could have been 60 Minutes.
But what happened was I was watching an interview where someone was talking about David Letterman doing his show, The Late Show, or what David Letterman, whatever it is, on the night of 9/11. Because I believe he canceled the show, but the joke that whoever was talking to whomever told was, when I talked to Dave, or when we talked to Dave about doing the show that night, Dave said, if we're going to do a show, there are only 2 people I would interview on the evening 9/11. First was Rudy Giuliani, and this was when he was mayor before we knew he was absolutely batshit crazy. He had a little competency. Second is David Schwimmer. And everybody laughs because it was meant as a joke. And that's the funniest thing David Letterman has ever said.
That is really funny. Also, it's even funnier now than it would have been at the time, because it makes David Letterman seem insane. Like, I'd like to talk to some total ass crackpot 90-year-old lawyer, Or the guy who played Ross in Friends, which is still funny.
And more preferable to the crackpot
Somehow,
lawyer.
yeah.
Jesus.
Based on some of the performances that David Schwimmer gives as Ross, I'm not sure he can truly speak, though. A lot of his lines were just him having his mouth open and looking scared and confused.
Making bizarre noises.
He may be dumber than Joey, even though Joey's supposed to be like a big lunk, supposed to be a big dumb jock.
And Ross is a fucking paleontologist who teaches college courses.
Yeah, what's that guy teaching? I don't buy it
the
a bit.
words, the syllables fall out of his mouth. It doesn't seem correct. And he is taller than the remainder of the cast, so he sort of feels like he's stooped over them, drooling his words onto the top of their heads.
Maybe that monkey bit him, and there's some sort of monkey disease that he's contracted.
Boy,
Because that happened in season 1. That was the monkey.
Wouldn't you bite David Schwimmer if you were too near him?
If he were right here, I would chew on him so bad. He would need bandages and stitches. That's how much I would bite David Schwimmer.
I guess the appeal is that he is something of a singular actor in this sense, in that I don't know anyone else with quite this, we'll say, style.
Mm-hmm.
You guys know what a pangolin is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we talked about it not that
did.
long
We might
ago.
have their,
Little
like,
baby
Perhaps
one.
on the podcast.
Yeah, they look like little armadillos. They're armored. They're an endangered species. But whenever you see pictures of them, they have their hands like this, their front hands, and they look like they're concerned. David Schwimmer would be a pangolin if you're an animal. Look that up. It'll make more sense if you know what a pangolin is. That would be him.
Before we talk about specifics in the episodes, the thing that I always knew myself personally about Friends is that I was grossed out by how the entire premise of the show relied on two core relationships, which I talked about when we introduced the show. We were going to do the episodes that revolve around Ross and Rachel and Chandler and Monica. And I think it's just very stupid that the show had to lean so heavily on, well, there's 6 people, 4 of them fell in fucking love with each other, and they just ended up together. Although they never fully let Ross and Rachel, will they, won't they? They never answered it. Like at the very last episode, they did, I do still have feelings for you thing, but they never officially get together like Chandler and Monica do.
Admirable restraint, I guess.
I don't like it. I mean, there's no way they could have done it because I just hate the concept of 6 individual friends, except they all got married together.
There is no show that won't do it on a long enough timeline. That is another reason why having your show creatively stop in its peak is best. You know, like, I was just thinking about how the American Office did this exact thing because it had time to do it. Paired everyone off.
And you've got Dwight and Angela and Jim and Pam and on.
It's a pet peeve of mine. And I know, by the way,
it's lazy writing.
It is. The final season was a struggle to get Jennifer Aniston to come back because she was already
famous as fuck,
busting out by then and did not want to be Rachel anymore. I forgot to mention they started at 20,000 an episode, and by the end we're making $1 million an episode. So quite a jump in their stature.
That's almost Big Bang Theory money.
What was that, like 3 million
it was
an episode?
I remember reading some article about it and throwing up.
Yeah,
like, hey, guy from Roseanne, here's $3 million 24 times a year.
Bazinga.
I picked these 2 episodes as an attempt to encapsulate what this show is about. I don't know.
I think you did a good job.
The people who are listening, and almost everyone knows about Friends, so if you're listening, you probably know more about Friends than we do, and I'm not sure.
You probably know more about Friends than my friends do.
How good of a job we did with the characters we have here, but what we've got is enough for me to say ew on a lot of levels. And we learn a lot right away in this first episode about the stuff we just talked about with Ross, where he just not a good look for Ross most of the time.
And we probably should have put this out right at the top of the show. If you're a fan of Friends, that's okay. Be a fan of Friends. The people I disagree with are the ones who are Friends is the best show ever. That I don't agree with heavily. But if you just like Friends, that's fine.
Or if it's like a nostalgic thing for you,
sure,
if you grew up with it, cool.
We're going to be mean about Friends.
Here's the thing. You can think whatever you want about Friends, and it is far from the worst show we've covered.
Oh, definitely.
But what I just want to say this, I mean, we reserve the right, as anyone does, to have fun, critical opinions of a thing. I think that most people who do like Friends, to be fair, like it in a I can do the dishes while I'm watching this.
Yeah,
sort
it's
of
like
way.
comfort food more than anything.
Yeah.
I think it's just. I think a lot of people have fondness for it looking back on it. Oh, I remember watching all those.
And I think that's why it is steamrolling. I think media you can intake while doing something else. So essentially non-challenging media has risen in popularity. So why wouldn't non-challenging media from the past do the same?
So our first episode this week, season 2, episode 7, the one where Ross finds out, right?
No, but what's
Was
it
that
called?
what it's called?
Yeah, that is what
The
it's
one
called.
the one where Ross finds out.
I hate that naming convention. They do that every episode. The
Mm.
one where it feels lazy to me. I get the theme and I get the idea of wanting a theme. I just don't like
It's
it.
like the show. It's a little too cute for its own good.
So this one opens with Chandler, fat fucking Chandler,
Who, by the way,
bursting.
is a normal-looking guy.
He's quite trim. His build, too, is like what we were talking about when I said he looked taller than Matt LeBlanc because he's built wiry.
Very live.
He's not, I don't think he could really get fat. But anyway, he bursts into the room demanding to know what is so disgusting about him to the entire group.
It turns out that his snark is off-putting. He's mean. He's loud. He's an asshole. His head, it's just his face is dumb. That's one thing. I don't like his hair. Should I keep going?
You've done a good job.
Okay.
I
I'm good.
agree, though. You know how you always used to say that you had a punchable face or you were punchable?
Yep.
Chandler's got a really punchable face.
Yeah, and a constant perma scowl.
Like a little sneer. He just seems hateful
He
just
thinks
looking
he's
at him.
so fucking funny.
Matthew Perry did do the voice of Benny in Fallout New Vegas, and I did like that character. So I will say, good job on that, Matthew Perry. Bad job on Chandler.
I would also like to note that my family saw Matthew Perry with Selma Hayek in the movie Fools Rush In.
I'd like to look at one of those two.
So anyway, Chandler demands to know what's wrong with him, apart from what Van said, because those are well, he did hate his hair, but most of what you said is his personality.
Yeah.
He's saying girls don't apparently think I'm hot because I was at a party and this girl just walked right through me. Like
Is she a ghost?
She just didn't even care that I existed.
He didn't say the party was in a haunted house.
I spooked her real good.
You know what it is about Chandler? He's got a little bit of Dennis Miller to him, kind of a about
snark.
everything he says. Okay, I'll try to hold back for a moment.
That's perfectly fair. So Phoebe assures him that, no, Chandler, don't worry, you're a hunk. But I do the same thing when I'm in your situation. When I put on a few pounds, I also start questioning myself.
And you guys laughed really hard.
I did.
Mm-hmm.
And that pretty much empties the room because this is apparently an open secret among the friends that Chandler's been getting fat lately. And
He's
no
up
one's
to-
wanted to say anything to him.
He's up to 150.
I was going to say 145,
I don't
so we
know.
were in that Q zone, if you will.
So we learned that Chandler's going to need to lose some weight because he's a fatty. And Monica is super excited about this because she is recently out of work. By the way, I think this is a thing where she got a job as a chef and took like a gift from a supplier, which is frowned upon and they let her go. I think that's what's going on with Monica being unemployed at this point in the show.
And as we know from television, if someone doesn't have a job, they go insane and cannot figure out what to do.
They have to have a project. And Chandler, Fat Chandler, is going to be Monica's project. And now we have our fountain dance intro with the theme song that no one liked.
Is there anything more fitting than what we see in the intro here in the fountain, which is David Schwimmer wearing a derby?
It's exactly right.
That makes me mad.
They're doing kind of a winking dance around this fountain. Like, we're not really trying to dance. So, like, because if we were, you could judge it. You know, you could evaluate it, and perhaps we'd be putting ourselves out there. But we're just a little too snarky for that.
They also did the interspersed images of the show and the cast name thing that just at one point became every show does that. And it's hard to watch it when you see it because it's just so overdone.
And I'll tell you, my favorite part of both episodes happens here in this intro sequence. I don't think it's there in the second one. And it's the funniest thing that happens on this show, either episode, probably at all. And it's where it says, directed by Peter Boners.
Yeah, that is great. With a Z.
Funnier than anything Friends could do. And we've talked about Peter Boners before. He's very important in the world of television. His name, Peter Boners, is funnier than Friends.
I don't disagree with that. Did you know that fountain that they are all...
Did Peter Boners erect it?
No, it's a set fountain at Burbank. So it's not even in New York.
That's a Tommy Wiseau move.
And they filmed it at 4 a.m.
That sounds like it'd be difficult or hard.
Yeah, apparently none of the cast liked doing that. And like
they didn't want to do it, but Peter Boners was firm that they had to get it done.
I really don't think Peter Boners made that decision, guys.
That joke was pretty flaccid. I think I'm out of adjectives.
That's all right.
I'm not, but I'll stop.
Tumescent.
I totally forgot what I was going to say now. I've been derailed. None of the cast liked that theme song, by the way, the Rembrandt's theme song.
Good.
They didn't like it. Jennifer Aniston even admitted it and then tried to take it back later and say it was just weird doing the fountain scene in general. So
I think it fits the show. It's like
bad.
Kind of upbeat and bad.
A little trite. I don't know.
Very 90s.
It is very 90s.
I guess that's the best thing about the show for us is it takes us back to our childhood days of innocence.
Or the Rembrandts, which is, I guess you could say Gin Blossom's Light.
Yeah, that's fair and very insulting. So you guys don't have that much to say about this intro sequence. Normally you're all about that.
No.
Just too generic.
You know,
It's
and
bad.
there's not any helicopters in it.
No.
There's not any snakes or like Alf doesn't leer at anyone.
I
in
wish
it.
there'd been a snake in the Friends fountain intro. I don't know what they would have done with that.
And there are no snake characters in Friends.
What about the episode where Ross gets a snake?
The one where Ross gets a snake.
It's called that, yeah.
I guess that makes it easier if you're like, oh, what was that episode? Oh, it's just called that.
That's funny because I always try and write the episode titles down along with the numbers. So when later I'm writing all the shit we have to put out there on the web, I have the numbers handy. So I put them in my notes and I was like,
I
what
do
was
that
this
too.
one called? Oh, yeah. And then that.
So we get right into the B plot in this episode. We're starting with the B plot because the A plot's just too heavy. We're not ready for that emotional.
This is like a band that knows it hasn't practiced in a while. So it's like, let's start with one that's inconsequential and short and bad.
So if we mess it up, we can just move right on.
And
Nobody's upset.
We'll move into the hits later. But for now, let's do a B plot that never progresses or is anything.
No, here's my problem is since they've set the tone that Chandler in this appearance is fat, he needed to be like severely underweight the rest of the show and the cast to act like that's normal.
He actually should have died from malnourishment by
They needed to
episodes
make
end.
Matt Perry alarmingly sick the rest of the show and then be like, that's how you're supposed to look, Chandler.
He could be Christian Bale in The Machinist or Machinist, whatever, where he's just rail thin,
Yeah.
like 90 pounds. Oof.
Yeah, now that would have been a way more interesting direction for the episode to take.
or the exercise works so well and he's just fucking jacked by the end of it. And then the rest of the show, he's a bodybuilder. Chandler, the ripped bodybuilder guy.
Also, Monica's idea of working out is fucked up. She's like, let's work out. And then each time they do, she's like, 3 more pounds to go. And it's like, what? What is the point of this? That's not how it works. Like, you don't work out and each time you lose a unit of weight and then you do that until you've reached a certain amount. If it worked that way, I would do it.
It's also 3 pounds, though. It's like, I think that's good enough. I fluctuate 7 pounds in a day sometimes. 3 pounds is nothing. So the whole gist of this thing here is that Chandler doesn't want to exercise and Monica does. That is essentially what we got here.
You don't even need to talk about the B plot anymore.
No,
That's all it is.
I'll try, though. I'll try, which is the initial sequence here is Monica's excited. She's jogging in place and she's cheerful. And Chandler tries to get excited and he jogs in place and isn't cheerful. And then she asks him what he's wearing, or something like that. He gets insecure and goes in and changes. And that's the scene. The first one, anyway. The first attempt at them working out. We do get a little like a montage, I guess, after that with Macho Man playing in the background. Here's where they're really getting after it. And that's Chandler running, trying to escape in a taxi. And then later having some kind of bargain with her to do 5 sit-ups and she'll flash him. So he does 2.5 and then says, just show me 1 boob.
This whole scene is just like pulled from stock jokes. Playing Macho Man on a montage where a man runs in spandex is that.
Ah.
It's just a lazy joke.
That's what we got.
This episode, especially for me, is just chock full of lazy joke after lazy joke that, like, you see him coming a mile away, which is, to me, why this show just can't work very much.
And speaking of lazy, the whole thing here where they're implying that the only thing the women bring to friendship is tits. Like, show me your tits and I'll keep doing my
Also,
workouts. I don't like that.
Personal training.
Okay.
Enthusiasm.
What though?
They're happy people, women.
If you have a group of 5 friends and you're not fucking each other at this
Yeah.
point, do you want to see each other naked?
Yeah, probably.
I don't.
Take it off.
Wait, maybe I can.
Okay, it's coming out. Oh, it looks like Alf.
I didn't know if the zipper would catch up. Hey guys, take a look at me. I'm a penis.
No, it is kind of weird how, and this is not the last reference to all the women in this show, just knowing that Joey, for instance, wants to fuck them. They're hot and the men want them. But yeah, that is a dynamic that I'm not sure they explain very well, that it's just well known.
Women are for sex.
They're
and
just
that's it.
friends, but they'd fuck the women if they could. Just kind of an ongoing thing there. Anyway, Chandler hates exercise. And I guess later that day or the next day or some point after all this exercise, they're at Central Perk, their little cafe that they all hang out at.
Which has been recreated all across the globe.
Even
by
though
the
it
way.
wasn't real. It was just in the show. Now it's been made real by the world.
And I bet the idea of sitting around on couches drinking coffee with your friends was like really new and fresh in the mid-90s versus now it almost feels like a cliche, right? Versus what it would have then.
What do you think about the name Central Perk?
It's okay.
It's pretty
For
good.
New York, it's okay, yeah. Let me tell you this. You know who managed Central Perk in season 1 for a couple episodes? Max Wright, a.k.a. Willie Tanner from ALF. He was an actor where he was the manager of Central Perk.
This
That's
actually
amazing.
came
Clips out
up
there.
in the ALF episodes.
Yeah, and here
That's
we
the
for
are,
only reason I remember that.
talking Friends and Max Wright.
So I was reading about how Central Perk was a real thing, and I think the UK or something. I don't know, but I was reading about how it wasn't real at the time, and my brain read it as, well, there is no real Central Park. I was like, what? There is to a Central Park.
It's a collective dream.
I haven't been there, but I know there's a Central Park, and then I realized they were talking about the name for the cafe, and I was kind of like, okay, I don't mind that
Who's
name.
this fucking Central Park denier?
Birds aren't real, Brian.
I think Central Perk is, compared to the rest of the show, I like that. It's pretty good. Before we continue with more Friends material, let's take a short break. Chandler's super sorry, so sorry, can't really even pick up his coffee cup without saying ow constantly. And that's the joke of that whole scene.
I hate it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
The studio audience does not hate it.
No, they really didn't hate much from what I could tell with their laughter. I forgot to mention that they filmed almost every single scene in the show throughout the run, except for big time cliffhangers. They filmed it in front of the live audiences with like 300 people, and most of it was authentic laughter you hear.
I mean, every joke hits like a fucking hammer. Like
They
the
loved them
audience
all.
loves it.
I think that is a good strategy, though, because people who don't really have a good sense of humor can hear the cues, a social cue of they're laughing. I should laugh. That was funny.
They're also pretty heavily directed,
Mhm.
like, as far as signage and kind of be ready to laugh, things like that.
So I think that might help influence people to say, like, the show is really funny. Look how much laughter there is.
Well, there is something to that, like laughter being kind of infectious. Like,
Yeah.
I will laugh at stuff that other people are laughing at that, yeah, I think it's funny, but obviously if I'm by myself, I'll probably just smile.
Sure. There's some scenes in this that were like a whole tier below that, or maybe 2 or 3 tiers, where I probably normally would have been annoyed or rolled my eyes, but I would be willing to smile or something. I wasn't laughing. I famously said once, like 20 years ago, that I could not possibly imagine laughing out loud watching a Friends episode. So that holds true, but I might have smiled a few times during these because the audience loved a moment so much, and I know they just love the characters, and they watched the show for 10 years and 236 episodes, and they cared so much, and they were so heavily invested that they had some moments of these that they loved, and some of that kind of finds its way through the screen, and you appreciate it more than you would otherwise. And apparently the cast really liked performing in front of the live audience too. They got energy from it.
And I could see how that would be rewarding, too. I mean, you say a line, someone laughs, you feel good. Even if you're fucking Matthew Perry blurting out dumb shit over and over again.
You get some sort of feedback right away versus waiting however long until your episode airs to know what anyone thinks of it.
Which Friends cast members do you think watch themselves on Friends? Because I know a lot of actors won't watch their own stuff.
Yeah.
Because
It's funny
it's
you
weird.
said that. Jennifer Aniston has said if it comes on TV, she accidentally gets sucked into it because she's trying to remember, like, which one was this? Because it's been so long. And then by the time she figures that out, she's like, oh, I'd forgotten that happened, and gets caught up in the nostalgia and will watch Friends on
That's
TV.
cute. That's fine. But I think Matthew Perry and David Schwimmer fucking sit there smiling at themselves. Like, oh my God, I was so good as Chandler. I'm so fucking funny.
I imagine
as Chandler.
Matthew Perry delivering little zingers back to
Yeah.
himself from the past.
It's also interesting that Matt LeBlanc is the one that got the spinoff show afterwards, because he was the one who was most freaked out by his fame during this and actually didn't want to work or be seen in public for a while because he just didn't know how to handle it, getting so famous so quickly.
Well, several of them also probably weren't in a position to do a spinoff because they were in movies.
They had stuff to do.
Right.
David Schwimmer.
Like you're not gonna be able to tell Jennifer Aniston, hey, we got this idea. It's called Rachel.
She was like, no way am I going to do that. At some point, I've got to be in We're the Millers.
And I need
That's
to
a
go home
movie.
to my husband, Brad Pitt.
That probably was true at this time.
It was, yeah. That time period, they were a big Hollywood couple.
Yeah, he was doing big stuff too. He's in Cool World.
Is it that partially animated
Yes.
movie?
Yes,
What even is that?
And that's
I don't
funny
know.
that that concept in 93, I can't imagine how well that got pulled off, how well it got
We
executed.
should probably watch that.
I would watch
Yeah.
it.
There's no Legends of the Fall.
Same time period.
The 1700s.
So Chandler's really sore and can't drink coffee, and it's hilarious. And he complains to Joey how fucking nuts Monica is and what a crazy trainer she is. She's been pushing him night and day. He has to do butt clenches at the office, and they won't deliver his mail to him anymore because of that. And in the middle of all this, Phoebe enters. Rachel, who I guess is a waitress at this time period at Cafe Perk. What's it called? Central Perk. I'm not even going to correct that because I don't care
there's
enough.
no point. This is exactly what I was talking about. All the characters suddenly begin whirling about one another as if one of them is some sort of,
They're all
central
there.
magnet.
They're all there at this point all of a sudden. So Rachel asks, hey, Phoebes, how'd the date with Scott go? And we don't really know anything about Scott, and I don't think you're supposed to, but Scott will not fuck, and Phoebe is a little bit frustrated about this. They have a little chat about what might be going on.
Well, maybe he drives his car on the other side of the road, if you know what I mean.
No, what do you mean? He's not British.
Maybe he's gay.
Oh! No, I don't think that's the problem. No. Because we went dancing the other night, and just the way he held me so close and the way he was looking into my eyes, I definitely felt something.
Yeah, but how much can you tell from a look?
Directed by Peter Boners.
Okay, that time it worked. I do kind of feel like that fits Peter Boners.
I thought this was going to be a gay joke that was running
I did
through.
too, and it is not.
It's not. And Joey says, maybe he's gay. Not
There's still a little
mean.
bit of mid-90s hesitance in there, though. It's like, is it okay to talk about gay people?
If they didn't have Phoebe make the British joke, it's a worse joke because he's saying the driving on the other side of the road. The audience reacts to that, but Phoebe takes it straightforward.
I see what you're saying.
Literal.
Yeah.
So that kind of lets the characters off the hook a little bit because they're not dancing around it like it's some taboo thing. He does it once, and then he's like, oh, I meant gay. But if that's not there, it probably becomes like a deluge of him saying different euphemisms for gay from 1994.
Sure, and then maybe talking about how he hates British people and all other races, too. Just,
Right. Just wrapping
kind of
that
goes
up in
into
there.
that.
That's the 2023 version of Friends.
Now, comedically, because that didn't offend anything necessarily. It was still a little bit reluctant, like I said. Like, they still seemed like they weren't sure they could say someone's gay. But comedically, not good. No, there's nothing funny in that.
I like the British.
I didn't
that
like
got
it.
me.
I
okay.
think, Lisa
Boo.
Kudrow's deliveries are pretty
Yes,
good.
I like
And
Lisa
she's
Kudrow.
she's supposed to be aloof and
Yeah.
free-spirited and innocent.
And a
in some
masseuse,
ways.
apparently.
Is that her job?
Yeah.
I
Oh, and
see
she
it.
writes songs, too. Although
Yeah,
the real Lisa
Stinky Cat.
Kudrow, Smelly Cat. The real Lisa Kudrow hates playing guitar, and they had to bring in like someone to train her, and it never did work. So she never could learn it. But her character is supposed to be a musician, yes.
She has a little bit more ability to elevate the material by just having her character feels like there's beats to the character that Lisa Kudrow probably thought through
Sure.
versus just kind of I am sarcastic guy. I have my mouth open and also own a monkey. Those are the other kinds of things they tried.
And dumb guy. That's
Right.
the other one.
Dumb, innocent guy.
I didn't mention this earlier, but I almost brought it up. Apparently, there was supposedly a whole controversy with the cast members being paid, and supposedly they weren't going to pay Lisa Kudrow the $1 million an episode or whatever they were paying everyone else. But the cast did do that. We're
They
a
held
team.
out, yeah.
They held out and said, I'm Matthew Perry. I'm not coming back unless you pay Phoebe or Lisa Kudrow.
That'd be funny if they
Just a
got
character.
They were
They're
like
really close,
wrestlers
but they
that-
talk to each other
Yes.
by their cast names. They stuck together, and it would work. Like, if you have to replace a cast member because they're being difficult, you could do that. If the whole cast is like, no, we're not doing the show anymore, you kind of have to give in.
I know, obviously, if Lisa Kudrow had left the show, they would have had to write Phoebe off. You can't replace her, but I think it's funnier to imagine a world where a show that popular, they say nothing and try to replace her with another actor.
They
As
could
Phoebe?
do.
Yeah.
They
Nice.
could do what they apparently tried out. One of the other people who tried out for it was Kathy Griffin. They just stick her in there, and she's Phoebe all of a sudden, like The Room did with
Oh,
Peter.
Phoebe's mean now.
Frizzy haired, though.
So it's at this time where the exercise plot comes back in, and Monica enters with rackets and beats Chandler over the head with one and says, racquetball and 20, bitch. And then next we see what is apparently a friend staple, which is a couple from the cast just going at it against a window. That happens in both of these episodes.
In just like an arm flailing, just a way no one ever has.
This is Ross and his new gal, Julie, and they are outside the cafe, but they don't want to come in yet because I guess they kind of want to get at it on the window out front for a little bit.
Gotta fog that thing up.
So there's a little bit of a delay, long enough for Phoebe to point him out to Rachel and say, hey, Rachel. And at this point in the show, it's been Ross historically who had the hots. He's been carrying a torch for Rachel.
Which I buy. I buy this part of it.
So they're concerned for Rachel because Ross has met someone right as Rachel realized, hey, I think I might have feelings for Ross too.
Don't buy that at all.
And this has been going on. We get a sense this is kind of Rachel's arc, is she slowly has decided that she does love Ross upon finding out that he likes her, which wouldn't she have just assumed he liked her?
Yeah, and I don't know why it matters. Like, she needed to be told that he had feelings for her to decide she had feelings for him. That should be something they were both doing independently if it was something that should be happening. But that's how this goes, is that Ross had a thing for her in the whole first season, but was too shy to say it, and she dated some Italian guy, and there were barriers there. And then when
Mike Piazza.
When he finally does get a girlfriend is when Rachel's like, I would like to be with him now. And it's, of course, will they, won't they thing that is really annoying. And that's where we're going with this particular part of the show. So Julie and Ross are out there having fun, being they're an exciting young couple and in love. And they enter, and there's apparently a plan to get a cat because Ross immediately opens with a question to Monica, who's his sister. Hey, can I come over tomorrow and let me actually read this cat's name. Can I come over tomorrow and get Fluffy Meowington's old toys? And the joke actually is that he just says, can I get Fluffy's old toys? Because they're getting the cat and he wants his sister's. I don't know if the cat's still around. Apparently not, because it's the old toys. And Monica says, well, you have to say his full name. And his full name is Fluffy Meowington.
You could do better than a better fake cat name than that, friends, I think.
It's also not like embarrassing to say out loud.
No.
Who gives a shit, David Schwimmer?
No, I would like to say that. I had fun saying it just now.
Julie, Ross's girlfriend here, is played by Lauren Tom, who this now makes the second show
names
we've covered in a row, not with that, but who voiced characters on Futurama, because she voices Amy Wong and Amy Wong's mother. She was also the voice of Min and Con Jr., a.k.a. Connie, on King of the Hill.
Oh, really?
Very prolific actress and voice actress.
At this same time, maybe.
Yeah. Well, she also, I guess, has done interviews in the past that she was the one who was in the way between Ross and Rachel getting together, and people give her shit about it to this day, because I think a lot of people still seem to think that television is real.
Plus, there is kind of the unspoken, I don't necessarily know that this is even intentional, but I feel like a lot of sitcoms in the 90s, because thankfully, in this one sense, America was trying to be a bit more inclusive. We saw more people of color become romantic interests for like an episode or two in sitcoms for the white main character. And it's always like, oh, the white woman I really love's back. Get the fuck out of here. And I don't think that's intentional, but it also happens in Seinfeld. It happens in like any sitcom of the era.
And it's mostly simply because the main characters themselves are white.
Yeah, and they date 100 people per season.
Exactly.
Again, also in Seinfeld.
One of the people that Seinfeld, one of the hundreds of people he dated in the show was Courtney Cox, too.
Yeah.
You guys remember that episode?
What episode was that?
That's the one where he pretends to get married for the laundry discount.
Oh, that's right.
And it's Courtney Cox that they do that with. Lots of spillovers here in this era of TV that we're covering. Rachel is real upset that Ross and Julie are going to get a cat together because they're going to split ownership of it. It's going to live with Ross sometimes, Julie with other times. And it is admittedly a weird thing to do, but Rachel is very upset about it while trying to hide it and kind of points out like, wow, that's a long commitment. Cats are around quite a while. Something we're all grateful for here in the podcast. Yes. And she then takes that time to scream that she has a date with a man. This is something Phoebe set her up with, correct? Or is it Monica? Monica set her up with the date. So she screams that she's got to leave.
Monica's helping everyone out.
Monica's the fixer. So she's got a date and she's got to go, and she storms out with the waitress tray she's holding. And also, I assume she's a hourly worker and probably should have clocked out. She doesn't do any of that stuff and just leave. She's so upset about this thing. She does come back to leave the tray.
But I don't think she finishes the shift.
Yeah, I think she just left. She walked out because Ross is getting a cat with Julie.
I'm sure her boss understands that as a valid reason to leave in the middle of your shift.
And keep in mind, Her boss is Willie Tanner from Alf.
So he does not understand.
Not a nice man to have as your boss.
This is a man with a real short fuse.
But he's also probably a lot more pleasant to be around since there's no puppet within sight.
Within sight. The show never says Alf doesn't work in the kitchen.
It's time to find out what this date consists of with Rachel and the guy named Michael, who is only in a very brief part of this episode but plays a pivotal role. It's some fancy restaurant that they've chosen, and Michael's telling Rachel how he's a little nervous because this is the first date he's been on since his divorce, and, she's Jennifer Aniston, so that's really intimidating.
This is a scene that made me think I could maybe date Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah, Michael, he's had a tough time of it, so I feel sorry for him, and it's rough because Rachel is not really into Michael, and she's not really even pretending to be. Just kind of an awkward thing to do for a first date, but
one might say she's being fucking awful.
She's being a little awful.
And that's what makes Michael even the playing field. No, Michael doesn't look like Jennifer Aniston, but Michael seems like a good enough guy.
He does.
You know what he does look like? Discount Barty Crouch Jr. from those Harry Potter movies.
For a little bit, for a
Yeah.
little tiny bit, I actually thought it was going to be Bob Odenkirk, and then I got to look at his face, and it wasn't at all.
You know
But
what?
When
Also,
he sat down,
he was on Seinfeld.
Was he?
Yeah.
So many people were. So Rachel completely ignores Michael talking about how it's his first date since the divorce and just says, how long do cats live? And he says, I don't know, like 15, 16 years. And their wine arrives and Rachel downs it miserably. Michael picks up something's wrong pretty quickly here and suggests, okay, Monica told you that I was hotter than I am, right? Is that what's going on here? Rachel says, no, that's not it. It's just, okay, I have this friend named Ross and he and his girlfriend are getting a cat. And Michael's like, oh, so?
At some point in here, the actor who plays Michael also does do a nice job.
I liked his response to that.
Yeah, the way he reads his lines and also the look on his face of kind of like the realization of I need to get out of this.
Yes. The way that he looks like he's like it's something he understands at first when she says, my friend got a cat with his girlfriend. He's like, oh, okay, well that is, and then stops because
he knows now like this is a dead end.
And he does ask, okay, is this friend like an ex? What's going on with that? And Rachel says, no, he's not an ex. He wishes he could be my boyfriend.
He's just some sort of open-mouthed ogre.
With a monkey.
So Michael's really confused at this point, and Rachel tries to get back to appropriate date conversations and says, oh, let's just talk about you. Have you ever gotten a pet with your girlfriend? Scene fades for here. We're going to leave the date where it is for the moment to go back to Central Perk, where Phoebe is really kind of having a crisis moment and tells Joey, who anyone would confide to, that she thinks Scott doesn't want her because she's not sexy enough.
The Phoebe-Joey interactions, those are the better ones in these episodes.
Well, the two more likable characters,
They are.
I guess.
Bingo. These are the two that you can say, okay, I can tolerate them.
How could you not, considering Joey's very comforting advice to Phoebe's problem here?
Phoebe, that's crazy. When I first met you, you know what I said to Chandler? I said, excellent butt, great rack.
Really? It's so sweet. I mean, I'm officially offended. So sweet.
I fucking chuckled when he said the first part because I did not expect it at all when I initially watched it. It goes on too long. I feel like it should have just been nice butt, nice rack. And she says, oh, that's so sweet. And then it moves on.
My favorite part about it was when she is touched by it and says that's so sweet. He looks so happy.
Yeah,
he gets
he does.
this giant smile on his face like he didn't mean it perverse. He just was trying to say something nice and he like pats her on the shoulder all cheerfully.
Well, that's the thing about the Joey thing, right? Is he's almost like a monster who understands his fuck power and knows he's learned to harness it over the years. So he can be this way with his friends.
Disgusting.
You know? Disgusting, but in a weirdly non-sexual way. Like, yeah, no, I can kind of look at this through another man's eyes since my penis is so busy.
I hate to interrupt, but I was busy looking up Lisa Kudrow's catalog of work on IMDb.
I thought you meant like a Sears type catalog.
Yeah, you can buy
she
Lisa
sells
Kudrow's
blazers.
No, she didn't sell. You buy her,
Oh.
but lots of her. You'll be delighted to know that she voiced Grandma Janice in the 2021 hit movie The Boss Baby 2 Family Business.
Wow, my sister would probably know about that.
She's a boss baby. I mean, of course, she voiced Mom in Boss Baby 1.
I do remember that, actually. I did see Boss Baby, and I do remember that. I was
You're
like, that's
just
Lisa
popping this out.
Kudrow.
You're just like freely admitting the Boss Baby love.
Not only did I watch Boss Baby, it made me tear up at the end.
What's the end? What happens?
Well, the Boss Baby becomes part of the family.
Wow.
They're
he
like,
wasn't to begin
no,
with.
they try to. So the baby wants to the kid wants to get rid of the baby or vice versa. I don't remember.
That's
But
messed up.
And so they adopt the baby, and the kid's like,
Oh.
I don't want you. I want to be alone. Or I think the baby's like a maniacal genius mastermind, Alec Baldwin,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
Adopted an
he's
Alec
an
Baldwin
Alec
baby.
Baldwin.
Yeah.
So by the end, they bond as big brother and little brother, and there's a very nice moment between the two of them.
Good thing there weren't any gun props on set of Boss Baby.
The whole time I was sitting here thinking about how to do my shooting blanks joke from earlier again.
Poor Alec Baldwin and his
I don't know that I
murdering
would say
ways. I mean, I don't know what to think about it.
Here's the thing about that. I do, in this isolated incident, feel that the actual act, I see how on his end, he might assume all of the precautions had been taken by the people working with the props.
Yes.
His handling of anything ever, though,
That's the problem.
is
His
awful.
reactions to
Yeah,
it.
it's always a series of weird honestly, if you think about it, I'm kind of the victim here.
I still remember waking up to the day that the news came out about that, and it was one of my Google headlines on my phone, and I didn't know the context, so I looked at my phone and said, Alec Baldwin shoots whatever prop master on set, and I was like, what the fuck is happening?
The first thing I thought is he probably fucking said Beetlejuice 3 times.
Yeah, that was just such a bizarre thing, and I don't know what to think about it, which is why I said poor Alec Baldwin, because, I mean, he probably is carrying a little bit of weight in his soul for having shot someone to death, I would think.
Was Beetlejuice the first thing you guys saw Alec Baldwin in?
I didn't know he was in
I think it
Beetlejuice.
was for me.
I think so. That definitely. I know he was in it, so I'm with you.
Is he Winona Ryder's dad or something?
No, he's one of the main
husband.
characters.
It's her husband.
Oh, he
yeah.
was so
Not
young.
Winona Ryder.
I think so,
She's the
right?
kid.
She's
She's
the kid.
the girl, the
Yeah.
kid. Gina Davis.
Oh, Gina. Is that Gina Davis?
Yes, Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin are a couple.
Why is Gina Davis in everything we're talking about right now?
Archery.
So Joey, after cheering her up with how hot she is, says, look, just talk to him. Just be direct with Scott and tell him you want to fuck.
This is also good advice.
Yeah.
Just actually talk about the thing
Joey's
instead of speculating.
surprisingly smart when it comes to sex, I guess. I don't know.
And soap opera acting, I think.
Outside behind them as they're talking, we get a little just physical comedy between Chandler and Monica where they're slap fighting because, again, Chandler hates exercising and Monica likes exercising and they're not gelling in the moment. Monica actually pushes him down at this point, like completely. He hits the floor and then she runs off because he looks like he actually wants to hurt her.
I put down here that the applause was rapturous from the audience during this mime scene that is, I mean, almost forcibly unfunny.
Let's go back to the date scene now. And Rachel is drunk. And not just a little drunk. She's had all the wine while Michael just sits there and watches her. In horror, I might add. She's hammered and she's still talking about the cat. Michael is being pretty understanding at this point, but he does decline the dessert emphatically to the waiter when it's offered and just requests the check. Rachel feels bad because she knows what's happening here and she comes clean and she says, look, I have a thing for Ross and I just can't get over him. And Michael says, hey, I understand that. I going through a divorce and these things are rough, but you'll be fine. You just need to get your closure. So Rachel latches on to the concept of closure at this point and says, my God, Michael, you're a fucking genius.
My God.
I just need closure. Now, how do I do that? Michael's like, well, you just got to find your thing where you're like, I am over you, Ross. Inspired, Rachel turns to the businessman who's dining behind her.
Kind of a John Favreau type.
On his 90s cell phone. Big long antenna.
It looked better than I thought it was going to look. When I saw it was a cell phone and my eyes focused on it, I expected an even bigger thing. But it just looks like a smaller cordless phone from the era.
Yeah, and it's so convenient that the one patron in this restaurant who has a cell phone that Rachel can grab is just right behind her because no one else had a cell phone.
It does look like an expensive restaurant. And,
and why is he blabbing on the fucking phone then?
Yeah, at his table.
Get up and leave.
So that we know he has it is the only reason, but it is really funny when you think about it practically.
He's disillusioned with his wife. They have a loveless marriage. They have the money, obviously. They're eating at this restaurant. He's got a nice cell phone, but they don't love each other.
Did you guys know anyone with a cell phone in 1995?
No.
Justin Hughes had a beeper. That was it.
We talked about it in my family, but it was like an alien technology sort of thing. I remember my mom being like, I heard those things. You got to pay to call or to receive one. It's like it charges you both ways.
This is how my family thought of it too, as like a mythical thing. So when we talked about it, it was kind of like, who knows how that works? However, childhood friend Kevin Agee, his mom had one.
Huh.
Wow.
Must have been important.
Yeah, she was a librarian.
Those are really important people.
You would know.
I mean, they are. They're great.
Armed with 90's cell phone and full of inspiration, Rachel calls Ross's number to leave that lovely drunken rant voicemail that is in the premise of this entire episode, and it's kind of the key pivotal point. Let's have a listen.
Ross, hi, it's Rachel. I'm just calling to say that everything's fine, and I'm really happy for you and your cat. Oh, by the way, I think you should name Michael. And you see there, I'm thinking of names, so obviously I am over you. I am over you. And that, my friend, is what they call closure.
What about that was funny?
I don't know.
I left the end part in because I just really wanted to capture the audience freaking the fuck out at that moment.
That's ELR level right there.
The funny part of that is that you would name a cat Michael.
You stole it from me. I was going to say that. I think that's a great idea. Michael!
And everybody knows in 1995, the only thing you name Michael is a big fat angel that's John Travolta. Another thing is Jennifer Aniston, at least at this point in her career, she ain't no Wings Hauser when it comes to acting drunk.
No, I'm not fooled a bit.
No, they should have done the method acting like Wings did.
Got her fucked up right then and there.
Give her
Friends.
a lifelong issue.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, too, with some of these people, because obviously Jennifer Aniston has always been top-notch fitness level, and it just makes me wonder...
That's how she beat the leprechaun.
Has she probably even been drunk that many times?
Yeah, good question.
Some of the celebrities like that, they just don't drink at all because it will destroy you from the inside out. So I don't know if she's really that familiar with being drunk, and it shows in that scene. We're getting about halfway into this, and Chandler's still fat, so Monica's still got some work to do. And she shows up at his place for more of that exercise, and Chandler's had it at this point. He says, no fucking way, it's Sunday, and I'm really sick.
That's the Lord's Day.
I guess he's not religious, and that's supposed to be funny, that he says it's Sunday, and Monica's like, so? He's like, I'm so tired of exercising, and I just don't want to do it. Monica says, you've only got 3 more pounds, like we referenced earlier. You can do this. Chandler just leaves, even though it's his place.
Well, but before that, Monica tries to convince him by making a lot of train noises.
Yeah, I was convinced.
And that would have done it for me. I would have been like, well, if you're willing to act like a total idiot, I'll go jog with you.
She is so cheerful about it.
Yeah.
And I actually don't mind that part of Monica in this episode, which is why that final scene is so upsetting and disturbing, and the audience laughs at it a lot.
Oh, the gaslighting scene
It's
that ends the
horrible.
episode?
Yeah, that's terrible.
Well, let me ask you this. This is a big internet thing. How many chugga-chuggas before you choo-choo?
5.
You say 5?
Caboose.
It's 6.
That was close.
Chugga-chugga.
Surprisingly close for something I don't understand.
Well, it's what I just did. How many times would you say chugga-chugga before you say choo-choo?
5.
You think it's 5? 5 is the worst answer.
I think it's pretty close.
Caboose.
So at Monica's place, Rachel is taking hangover medicine because that's what you take some aspirin after you have too much.
That's 5.
It sure does work. It doesn't. Nothing works.
There's no way to fix it. You're just going to feel like shit.
There's 2 choices. Time marches on and it goes away, or you die.
Mm-hmm. Well, Rachel doesn't know anything about that because she's Jennifer Aniston, and Jennifer Aniston doesn't drink, I've decided. It's canon now in Bootu Boys.
We'll call her up, find out.
Okay. So Ross is stopping in for Fluffy Meowington's cat toys, and Rachel obviously does not remember what she did on that first date. It's the classic, I got blackout drunk on a date and did stuff I don't remember last night, so she doesn't know that she called and left a voicemail. And Ross doesn't know either because he spent the night with Julie and hasn't had a chance to check his messages yet. So now that Ross has decided it's time to check his messages, which was a common thing in so many TV shows where you go over to someone's house to check your voicemail messages.
And like one of the big things you did in your day was check your messages.
You got on someone else's phone at someone else's house. You're like, oh, do you mind? I gotta see how many voicemails I've gotten in the past 6 hours.
Oh, do you mind? I have to do a much healthier way of communicating than what people will do in the future when they're just constantly looking at their phone.
This is the episode's big moment here, and I guess really honestly one of the big moments of the entire show, of just Friends as a whole, where Ross dials into his answering machine. Rachel realizes, because Ross is innocently listening to the start of her message, like, hey, Rachel, this message is from you. It clicks that Rachel did what she did when she was blackout drunk with Michael last night. She realizes what's at stake and tries to pry the phone out of his hands and jumps on his back, and there's a big scene with that, but it's too late. Ross has heard the message and her proclamation, I guess, that she's over him, and all is revealed, except I don't know how to describe what Ross's emotion is here because
Like
it's
shell shock.
it's more puzzled
like
than
Ryback.
anything else. Like he's more confused and just doesn't really know how to process any of it in the
It's
moment.
just not something he could possibly have seen coming is how he's trying to play it, I think.
And so convincingly that he doesn't really say anything in this scene. He has almost no lines.
No, and this continues for a while here. He seems as angry as anything, like just kind of put off by this having happened.
The next scene, he's like honestly kind of more pissed than anything. Here, he's just like, I don't know what to do and I don't know how to speak.
Yeah, he's stunned here, and then later he's kind of angry about it, that he can't talk about this normally because right from the beginning, the Ross character, and I don't know if this is like intentional or not, is such an asshole that he essentially is blaming the Rachel character because she didn't have feelings for him at the right time.
When he was available.
Yeah.
So it's all her fault. But at this point, he can't spit any of that out. He's so flabbergasted. The big line, the superstar line that the audience loves here is, "You're over me? When were you under me?" Real funny. It's comedic gold. But that's about all he says here. He's so stunned the rest of it that it's mostly up to Rachel to fill the air with confessions like, "Yeah, I recently have developed feelings for you. And honestly, I think it's your fault. You had feelings first." Something to that degree. This is their initial back and forth over that. And then Julie downstairs buzzes and says, "Hey, I've got a cab. Let's go get that cat." And Ross says, "Look, I can't deal with this right now. I have to go with my girlfriend to go pick up our cat, and we'll talk about this later." Except none of it happens that responsibly or that well communicated. It's just kind of, "Well, I can't do this. Cat." He actually leaves saying cat.
Nothing about how Ross addresses the situation here, or even later, to me, is remotely ideal. Like, it doesn't seem like this is the big crescendo of this part of the show.
It's not surprising to me, though, if this is Ross's in-the-moment communication skills, it's not surprising that he's a character who ends up divorced 3 times in the course of the show.
Mm-hmm.
He's already got 1 at this point, and he'll have a couple more by the show's end, including ones with Rachel and some drunken wedding they do. But he's not good at expressing himself. In fact, like I said, he really doesn't even speak at all in this whole scene. It's a big moment.
To be fair, it is a good thing when he does not speak.
True.
I appreciate that moment.
Yeah, later when he gives us some of the speech, it's like, yeah, you might as well just kind of
go back to the other thing. This scene also, to me, confirmed what I was beginning to suspect, that the show set up a promise it was not intending to deliver, which is showing me a fucking cat. I wanted to see this
good
cat.
Point. Yeah. And then we know they've shown monkeys before.
Yeah.
So they should show a cat.
Put some cats on here.
We put our big plot on hold for a little bit and go back to Phoebe. We got to tie up some of the other plots in here. Phoebe enters Joey's place. He's watching a rabbi play guitar on TV.
Yeah,
with the look
it's
on his
amazing.
face. Yeah.
This finally got my attention. This show showed me something that held my interest. And then Phoebe fucking comes over and turns it off.
And he acts grateful.
To be fair, I was going to say Joey didn't want it on.
But why? If I would be pretty fascinated if I stumbled onto a rabbi band rocking out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Joey is too lazy to change it, but clearly was not invested in it. Just he's so stupid and lazy that he couldn't turn the TV off because that's Joey.
Metalmud.
Kudos to you for that
Thank you.
one.
Better or worse than Jimmy Buffett Head?
Better. Way better.
I like Jimmy Buffett Head, though. So as we talked about, Joey didn't really want that on anyway and is glad that Phoebe turns it off. And besides, Phoebe's got some real big news of her own here that's more important than rabbis playing guitars, which is that she fucked. She and Scott, they finally got it on. So what the deal is with her thing is, the reason Scott didn't want to fuck is he was like, "You're a girl and I'm really hot and in demand and I don't know for sure how you'll feel emotionally. I don't want to hurt you. So I didn't want to have sex because I don't know if it'll break your heart if it doesn't work once we have sex." So she's like, "No, I don't care. Let's just fuck." And they fucked. And that's that.
Yeah, it was definitely a thing where they were trying to imply that women are too emotional from sex. So therefore, he was the good guy.
Right.
Because he wouldn't do it
Well,
or whatever.
if you fuck him, then you're responsible for him afterwards, is the theme in that.
I couldn't help but think of how Seinfeld might have handled that same joke. Because I think that could be really funny if they did it the right way. But basically, this just then led me down a rabbit hole where I was just watching Seinfeld clips and refusing to watch Friends.
Phoebe initially turns the joke in a direction that I was like, oh, okay. Because she's like, no, I'm a fucking modern woman. I don't need to get married if I have sex with someone. But then by the end of the scene, it kind of does seem like she feels like she got duped because of Joey's reaction. So it kind of undoes the work that it did for me.
Joey is, just impressed by Scott. He's like, man, how'd he get you to agree to such a terrible arrangement on your part?
And again, that shows that Joey, despite the good, and this is, the 90s, but Joey still does see women as something to be gained.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, in the nicest possible way. We've got that one tied up, sort of, I guess, if that makes you guys feel any closure, but it's supposed to be. So now it's time to tie up the other plot, the main thing. Got our final scene of the episode now, where Rachel's closing up a darkened Central Perk alone, of course, which gives Ross the perfect moment to confront her and have our climactic ending.
Things are taking a turn. There's some sort of looming serial killer standing outside of Central Perk waiting to come in.
And Ross, like we talked about earlier, he's had some time to sort through his emotions. In Ross's case, I'm imagining him just sitting in his room and staring straight ahead while he tries to figure out one sentence's worth of value to add.
Is his mouth open or closed?
Oh, definitely open. There's zero question about that.
I don't think it does close. I think he has not tinnitus. He has the jaw thing, lock jaw, that you can't close it. Must be that.
That you always hear that little fun fact of, humans accidentally eat X amount of spiders in their lifetime. I bet it's higher for him.
That's also not a real fact, by the way.
No, but I bet it is anyway. I bet
for
he
him,
eats
it
a
is.
ton of spiders.
Can we start calling Ross the spider eater?
Hey, spider lips!
So now that Ross has had this time to think about his emotions and eat some spiders, he's less tongue-tied and he's mad.
Which it's weird that he's less tongue-tied with all those spiders in there.
He tells Rachel they didn't get a cat, which again was very upsetting for Brian. And whose fault is it that he didn't get a cat? Well, it's Rachel's. It's Rachel's fault for waiting until he finally got into a new relationship that he was happy with before deciding she felt the same way for him that he did for her. It's Rachel's fault for never being truly available in that first season of the show that we didn't watch. And all these years he's longed for since he was 14, as it turns out, later on.
Despite him never once apparently admitting it or saying anything.
I didn't know this was a thing either. That I kind of figured that obviously Monica and Ross are siblings.
Right.
Beyond that, I kind of figured everybody met in New York.
So Monica's kind of like the link to them all. Monica was friends with Rachel when they were younger. And of course, Ross would have known Rachel through his sister. And then Chandler was Ross's roommate in college or something. They all
so
connect
later
some
in
stupid
life,
way.
they chose to be friends with Chandler, which is what I assumed, but it is suspect.
It's hard to think about when you say it out loud.
Yeah.
I question it too. It's also Rachel's fault for even sharing any of her feelings with him in the first place at this time, according to him. Oh boy, Rachel is hopping mad about Ross being mad. So now it's her turn to unload on him, which is, you have any idea how hard it is for me to see you with Julie? And it's not my fault that I didn't get around to telling you because you never told me about the feelings you've had for me for all this time, which is a big deal because Ross didn't know that Rachel even had the awareness that he'd been carrying a torch for all those years. And that's a big stoppage in the conversation where David Schwimmer gets to do some comedic moments where he's like, when did he? I think it is, because she says Chandler told her about the big reveal there.
I don't know if this is David Schwimmer or if this is the Ross character, but a lot of the tics come across like he's broken. Like someone, like when he says cat and then leaves the apartment
I guess
earlier.
That's the nervous energy that they wrote for David Schwimmer. I don't know. It seems like he likes to do that kind of stuff, the awkwardness, and I don't know how to behave right now situation.
And just make bizarre noises at times. Like he'll go just at random spots.
Can you do that again? I mean, that could be your catchphrase. Maybe, we'll see. We'll see if it catches on with the crowd.
Well, if he's got one and I've got one, then you'll have to get one too.
I mean, one day I'm going to make a noise and you guys are going to know.
Well, no, it's the catchphrase. So Rachel says, why didn't you say anything all this time? And they're going back and forth like this for a bit. They're mad at each other. Sure, it's logical to be mad at each other in the situation. In any case, Ross decides it doesn't matter because he's not going for it. He's happy with Julie. Everything is working out fine for him. And the ship for he and Rachel, that thing is sailed. And Rachel says, that's fine. I don't need your stupid ship. And I could have sworn when I was watching it, I thought she said, I don't need your stupid shit. As he stormed out and she locked the 7 locks on the front door. So she's upset. This is a big moment. She's told him off and she said, fine, if you don't like me anymore, I don't like you anymore, and I'm done with you and I got my closure. That's still upsetting. So she has to collect herself, sit down on the couch and not really cry, but kind of decompress for a little bit because that was a lot in one scene. By the time she gets up and has gone on with her day.
I'm laughing at the fact that fucking Ross is back there looming, staring at her through the door.
Spectre in the night.
Nightmares. I will have nightmares of David Schwimmer, stupid face, like blank-eyed, mouth agape, staring at her through a window.
Yeah, he's back. By the time she gets up and has controlled herself, her emotions are back. So is Ross. This is supposed to be a sweet thing, like, he couldn't stay away.
Which, why? We've seen nothing in this scene that makes me like either of them very much. And I think the scene is supposed to play out as, I can see this from both of their perspectives. And it's just the timing hasn't been good.
Sure.
Everyone, it's just not quite aligning. If they could just fucking get it, you know?
So,
but the scene does not earn that.
How it ends up being is that they're both just being ridiculous. So stupid. And there's zero communication from either side of them. So, no, you end up kind of just wanting them to never talk again and just let this thing drop because they don't really seem like they're that good for each other.
Yeah, like one of you go date Chandler or something. I don't know. So preferably Ross. Just pair them off so they're in one scene together and two birds, one stone.
The final moment here is where they kind of stare at each other for a little bit through the glass, and it's clear that they just have to have each other at this moment. They've had their fight, but in the end, he was drawn back. She sees him, and it's like, okay, this is their big thing. Audience has been waiting a season plus for this already, and they want it to happen. So she lets him in by opening the 6 or 7 locks, and that's supposed to be funny because it takes way too long to let him back in, and there's a couple locks that she doesn't get, and there's some jiggling, and it's not a smooth process for him to re-enter the store. But when he does, they share a passionate, loving embrace and kiss, and I guess this is the first of many for them, and it's officially on for Ross and Rachel at this moment.
Big moment in the show's history. They chose to adorn it with a couple of things. A song which I labeled as maybe by U3.
Did you know that they originally tried to get a U2 song?
Oh, really?
But they couldn't get the rights in time.
Because it sure sounds like a lazy U2 song.
The next episode, they got the U2 song.
Yeah. The other thing is someone working on set was in charge of making it rain. So they stood over Central Perk, it appeared to me, and poured one bucket stream of water down. Because it's got to rain.
Got to get the ambience just right.
Yeah, you got to get these leads wet.
Now we get our end credits thing, the bonus part that I was talking about. The credits have already played and the episode's over, but we have to now tie up Chandler and Monica's
Don't worry,
thing.
The worst part of the episode has not happened yet.
Somehow.
Genuinely upsetting. Again, we've talked about this. Chandler is tired of working out, and he doesn't know how to end the arrangement between he and Monica like a responsible adult, and I guess feels like he can't. Like Monica's not going to leave him alone unless he is an absolute asshole to her. So he bullies her and kind of takes a little backwards route to reminding her how shitty her life is and turns it into like, Monica, I can't believe how much energy you've got considering, you just lost your job. It must be rough and you can't tell your parents because that would disappoint them. So you're carrying that whole weight alone and you don't really have anyone to talk to. You don't have a boyfriend. You don't have anyone in your life who really cares even. And it must really be hard. I would not be able to get out of bed if I were you.
Yeah, he basically caps it with, I'd commit suicide if I were you.
And his face is so mean when he says all that. Like, actual Matt Perry's face is just awful the whole time.
And his face always looks mean, but this is another level of it.
It's so mean. It's like he's just spitting this at her. And Courtney Cox plays her part just as well, where she looks like she's actually getting crushed spiritually, like inside.
Devastated.
All the air is going out of her, and she tries to kind of stay up at first. And it's like, well, I try to stay positive. I want to handle this crisis in my life as healthy as I can. And he keeps at it until she decides she will go ahead and nap instead of run. And that's where the episode ends.
He breaks her spirit.
He's really patronizing about it. Like, you go ahead and take it. And then he does a little dance when she walks off. It's
all just so he doesn't have to exercise.
Yeah, audience thinks it's hilarious.
Fucking awful.
So mean. And thus concludes our first foray into Friends.
Oh, boy. What an experience it was. This is by far the worst of the 2 episodes.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, we got that out there.
See, I actually don't know that I agree with that myself.
Okay.
I didn't particularly, obviously you guys aren't saying you liked the second one.
Well, no, that's ridiculous.
I think I actually didn't like the second one more, but we'll get
talk
into
of that one, yeah.
Yeah, we've got more coming next week.
Great.
and more Friends, and we're all going to say something nice about it at the end. So if you're disappointed that we were too mean about it, we'll try to fix that next week. I'm making promises we're not going to be able to keep.
Yeah, because ultimately, again, this is not, even this episode, which I did not prefer. Real quick, one of the reasons why is like the treacly attempts at emotion just doesn't work at all for me here. And the jokes, to me, felt lazier, less chemistry between the cast in this one. But I guess what I was going to say is, like, we're not going to say a lot of nice things about this, but this isn't like us attempting to shit on a really popular thing just because of that. I did expect to like it more than I did, if that makes sense.
Sure.
But I didn't think I would like it.
You
But
thought maybe you're being too harsh as a
Yes.
kid, and as an adult, you can find things to enjoy.
and that I maybe had insinuated some opinions in my head about it being
Yeah.
kind of a broad run-of-the-mill
I went into
comedy.
it with an open mind. It was like, maybe this is not so bad. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's just so lazy. And this is early in the show. So
Yeah.
we get into the slightly more middle of the run next week, and we can see how much we think the cast is gelling together compared to now. Maybe it's early chemistry things and they're not quite hitting their stride yet or whatever. But yeah, I think we all discovered that we had authentic concerns about the show over watching it. And it wasn't just any of that bias going into it.
No, and again, yeah, I was kind of surprised by that, but I actually find it's easier to do that the longer we do the podcast, which I kind of initially thought that might be the opposite, but it's getting easier to kind of separate my preconceived opinions when starting a show because I'm finding I want to like them.
And you have a lot to compare it to also.
Yeah.
Like you have the peers and you have the kind of what was the norm for TV at that time and the standards. And what I'm trying to say is that we're slowly becoming experts in our field.
Of course.
And now when we see something, we kind of have a reason why we don't like it or do like it. And we have more evidence to support our.
One of the things you had said you had a bit of an issue with Matlock about, I have an issue about with Friends.
Too much legal stuff.
Not enough court scenes.
Our 2 episodes here reminds me, honestly, of Everybody Loves Raymond. The first episode is trying to do some stuff that it has no business doing. The second episode's boilerplate sitcom.
Totally agree.
The
Except for
difference
the-
is there were good performances
Yeah.
in Raymond. There were not good performances. Well, there were a few, but not as many in this.
Do you have any specific thoughts about like which we said Joey was probably the most likable?
Joey and Phoebe, I think, are the 2 likable
See,
characters.
I think Phoebe definitely was like head and shoulders in terms of how she portrayed her actor. Like,
Mhm.
you guys both kind of said that.
Yeah.
In this episode, she stood out.
She does in the next one too, I think, in terms of just even with the material, like really leaning in. And I think I might be wrong about this, but to my knowledge, she's the only actor of the main cast with a comedy background, like a purely comedy background first. So that might have something to do with it. I don't know. But yeah, it really, there were kind of divisions for me. And then I found myself Phoebe and liking her the most, then Joey. And then at the bottom, Ross and Chandler. And then, of course, you have Rachel and Monica kind of in the middle.
I thought Rachel sucked pretty bad in this episode.
This
Yeah, she's
episode,
awful.
she's far worse. Yeah, in this episode, Rachel to me is just as bad as Ross, basically. I came away just really super unimpressed with Jennifer Aniston.
I agree.
As an actor in this.
Yeah, I think maybe she took a step down from Leprechaun.
Yeah, I've seen her do a lot better than this, but this
in
is...
Leprechaun.
Yeah.
You guys have any other Friends thoughts before we pack it in for the week and then come back next week for more?
No.
Nothing.
I don't have any ideas on how to end it. What do we say?
We'll be there for you.
We won't.